Okay, thanks for joining me. My name is Rose Peter Graham, and beside me is my colleague Priscilla Wigbo. We have just heard the presidential candidate for the Labour Party talk to the world on the topic a vision for policy changes and institutional reforms in Nigeria. He had a good outing, I would say. He talked about security, where he majored. He talked about the youth, and then he talked about power, how he's going to bring major changes in this aspects of the Nigerian economy. Priscilla, you were there. You did your usual.
I don't know about my usual.
You did your usual. Okay, so we're going to we'll visit that pretty soon. But then let's talk about overall. What would you say about his outing?
Well, what can I say? He went through his 7 points agenda, which
Okay.
is what he intends to do for Nigeria when he becomes president. And that's not new if you're familiar with his manifesto. The question of power generation, diplomacy, consumption, productivity, security, all of that. So, he went through that. The manifesto gives you a detailed breakdown of how he intends to achieve that. So, I think that listening to him, you can see why the young people are so drawn to him. Because I think he speaks their language. He speaks a language that they understand. Comes across very fearless, I have to say. It's highly admirable. He's fearless in his defense, he's fearless in his ambition, he's fearless in his, desire to serve. So that comes across, really well.
Left to me, I know I have to be totally and completely objective. As much as I want a Nigeria that works, and of course, as someone who is ready or is well positioned to bring about a change in Nigeria, I think the way he puts himself, I think pretty much he knows what he's talking about. He understands the problem of Nigeria and the changes that can be done.
He does.
Okay, sorry, just that will be dealt with. That will be dealt with. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, he does. He understands the problem of Nigeria, but let's make no mistakes. The order is tall. It's huge, and he speaks of the things that he's saying he's going to do are not new. So again, I go back to what I was saying, previously about Tinubu. I go back to the show working, because what he's proposing to do, oh my goodness, it's huge, it's humongous, and so many are going to be impacted and affected. And it's a matter of, will he be able to achieve it? Will he be allowed to achieve it?
Yeah, surprisingly, that's the same question the Sky reporter put to him. The job is quite daunting. Would you be able to do this? And he says definitely he will be able to do it. And out of all the contestants, he seems to be the youngest.
Yeah, and that's
And he
great.
seems to be one who has been engaging with Nigerians every day.
Well, what you have to give him without fail is that whether we like it or yes, he has changed the political terrain. He has changed the way we do elections. He's changed the way we do the debates. He's changed, engaging with people. Recently, he was in Nsukka, University of Nigeria, engaging with students. We don't often see Nigerian politicians doing that, but we see him doing it. We see him doing town halls on YouTube and on Zoom. We see him engaging, whether it's on TV, consistently doing this. We're seeing him going state to state, meeting people, talking with people. So, you've got to give him that. It's absolutely fantastic that, yes, he's the youngest. You can see that he's also aging in this season as well. You can see the gray
Yes,
hair.
he is. Just like you find with American presidents, because
Well,
they're
because they're
always
stressed.
talking, they're
They're-
stressed,
it's-
they are getting in the middle of it.
Yeah,
They're
so-
getting in the middle of it. I'm
so-
sorry if I'm cutting you short, because if you look at the present president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, it's like he just won the elections and went straight to his bedroom, sleeping. I don't know how best to put that, but that is the impression I'm getting, because he seems to be looking younger and fresher, whereby Obama is one of the youngest presidents in the world to be elected, grew gray hair within 6 months.
Have a look at Sunak.
Oh, of course, and sooner. Youngest so far. And then we have this aged men in contesting alongside.
See, the aged men contesting is not a new thing.
It is not a new
It's
thing.
not a new
America is there with Joe Biden and the
see it
like.
everywhere.
There's a system in place. But with what we have in Nigeria, there is work to be done.
Yeah, there is work to be done, and we need somebody who, I think what the situation is at this point in time is that we can no longer afford a president that cannot hit the ground running. I think that's very important. Because of the past experience of the current administration. So I can understand and I see where Nigerians are at with that. But as to him being the youngest, great, and they being older, it's nothing new. But it's just a matter of what they are able to do if they should be in office. I think that's more the issue, isn't it?
Okay, and now let's look at this. We're talking about him engaging with Nigerians all across the world, and but the Chatham House, it's a different platform entirely.
Well, yeah, it's a policy, building where people come and discuss policies and issues from around the world. That's what it's there for. The UK government, do research and all of that. So, let me be honest.
Yes.
I can't say that it's something that, what is the point to it, you will ask? Yeah?
If there's any electoral...
But then it seems to be, at the moment, the one place that we diasporans get to engage with them. And it's not just we, the diasporans. You see that, in that room, there was a collection of international media who were also there. And also wanting to engage and they will all go away and write their articles, as they always do. So I suppose on that note, it has those benefits. But yeah, it's about that, and indeed he announced his policies, as it were.
Okay, and now let's talk about him, the way he engaged with the people. Engaging with people is not a problem for him. But now comparing his outing with that of the APC candidates, that's Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
You see, let me tell you something. I think on a general level, you will always find that anybody that is able to, anybody that, in the public realm, public arena is friendly, and it's able to accommodate, human beings with their shortcomings, any which way it is. And for that brief moment they'll stop and they'll say hello. For that brief moment they'll stop and they will respond or react. That you cannot take it away from a person. You can't compare a person who's willing and ready to do that with somebody who is not. The person who's ready and willing to do that will attract more, will attract the likes, will attract, the constant kindness and kind words and, excitement from people. Somebody who's not coming across as friendly or that's not willing to engage will obviously not get that. And I think it's even more important in the Nigerian situation because it's not something that our leaders do. We don't have leaders. Let's look at our leadership over the years. They seldom sort of come down to the level of the people because that's effectively what it is. Coming down to the level of the ordinary man and shaking hands and saying, "How are you doing today? It's good to see." Those kind of things, they go a long way. It's not something that it's normal in our setting. So yeah, he's definitely going to attract the younger people because he has their time. It's that simple.
He just showed us this is how it's meant to be done.
Well, yeah, that is how it's meant to be done because for him, it's about servant leadership, not so much everybody look up to me, I'm your boss, I'm here. It's what I say.
Or if he says, it's okay. If he says he's working, like if Tinubu says, I'm working with a team, governance is not going to be about me. But you see the
there's nobody
the team
that
I'm bringing.
There's no government that operates in silo without a team. Everybody has a team. CEOs have teams. That's why their companies are successful. Everybody has a team.
Peter Obi has a team,
so
but right now the buck
so the
stops.
whole business of
right in front of him right now.
It's not about that at this stage. You know, he mentions his VP, but we seldom saw his VP.
Oh,
you know,
and that's something else I really like that he does. It is really nice. He said Dante and I.
Dante and I.
Dante and I. So
Dante and I
it's not about how am I going to put this? It isn't just all about me. It's my vice president. It's my running mate. And we're everywhere. And there's something else I also noticed because I went in there when when the international media were having interviews with Mr. Peter Obi.
Right.
During when Sky TV or Sky News was speaking with him, I was speaking with the vice president's the candidates. Yeah. So I think we were exchanging pleasantries, and then with some other people, and then at the point he said to us, I have to go be with him.
Yeah.
It was Peter Obi that's been interviewed, but his presence there matters. So when he said, I have to go be with him. This is a team. I mean, you don't have to say it or delegate questions to them. I think it's best when you see them display these things unconsciously.
Wow. Anyway.
Yes, that's what I noticed. Don't mind me. Just the little things matters. The little things matter. Okay, that's one. And also, you put a question to him. You talked about power. This is one aspect that's been crippling the economy of Nigeria, because if there is power, education, health, commerce, everything is going to work.
Yeah.
Everything will work. And then you mentioned because he said he's going to deal with that aspect before he used the word that is turning Twitter on fire right now, that he's going to go to war on power. Awesome, fantastic. We're talking about those people who have made it a point of duty to make sure there's no power in Nigeria, who are benefiting from it. And he said he's going to deal with them. His response.
Rose, I was privileged to cover when the UN launched a new department, Sustainable Energy, I think it was called at the time. And they decided to launch it in Nigeria. I was privileged to cover it. That was headed by then former presidential candidate for Sierra Leone, Dr. Kandeh Bukele. I was privileged to cover that, and I saw firsthand at that point. Then it was Badge Naji that was the power minister.
Yes, I need to come closer and speak because of the cars and speak louder.
So I was very privileged to be at that event in Abuja and cover it. So I learned and saw so much about the power sector, and I listened to Nigerians who were at the heart of the power sector and their experiences and the things that were required. And our power sector, the issue is not our generation, transmission, and the other one that the three components that everybody speaks about all the time. But the elephant in the room that we never want to touch on is the power, the things that stops it from happening. And that is that for the many years that Nigeria has been powerless, there is an industry that exists to feed that, to fill that void. And so you've got gen sellers, gen importers, people that service gen, people that sell spare parts, engineers, everybody. That sector employs a ton of people. So when we say we're going to generate power, we need to really look at that. How are we going to then redraft these people back, continue in society, and let them continue to earn a living, because that was what I was driving at. The people that are, supplying spare parts, the people that are servicing, they need to continue to earn a living. What do we do for them to do that? That's number one. The other aspect is, how do we negotiate, as it were, with those who are the importers of generators? Because it's not enough we learned from Fashola, right? It's not enough to say we're going to generate power.
Yes.
Because there is more to it than that. And the whole business of generation, transmission, and all of that, that's already in place. That system is in place. It was broken down during the Jonathan administration, and we saw then the respective power companies that came up
Yes.
because that has been broken out. So that's not the issue.
Yeah.
It's not the issue. The issue is the powers behind the power. And we need to look at that. And he said he's going to go to war. Now, things like that, I mean, I admire his fearless nature. I admire the fact that he is ready to do that. But it also gives me concern. Because those who are at the bottom of that food chain are not
Yes.
going to freely, easily say, oh yeah.
But you're talking about those who are what about the importers?
That's
Because
what I'm
if you stop the
saying.
importation,
It's the ones at the top, yeah, they're one thing, but even the ones at the bottom of the food chain too are going to
I
stand
know,
against you.
but I know it's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
But they should also realize that if there is light, then they can divide and do
Bros, all
something
they're
else.
thinking of is you want to take away my food. They're not thinking, so now you want me to go and start looking for a new job? Do you want me to go and start? How am I going to do that? That's what they're thinking. They're not going to see it as easily as you and I and him sees it.
Okay,
Do
so
you understand? So
okay, I see where you're coming from, and I would say yes, there's challenges on every aspect of it. So while he's
Absolutely.
trying to deal with the big boys or the
Yes, he's gotta,
gangs,
you
the
know,
gangs that are making
you
sure
have to
that
have a
power
policy
doesn't
for
work.
the guys on the ground.
Yeah, and I guess it will take all of those into account.
Well, that's, you see, that the point of my bringing it up, because a
Yes.
lot of them everybody's talking about it, but I never hear anybody tell me how they're going to do that. So that's why I thought, this is something that we need to flag up and begin to discuss it. So you start looking into it, because you need to have a specific policy that will create something for them to want to give up their livelihoods. Who wants to give up their livelihoods?
But they will have to give it up for Nigeria to work.
That's
They
you.
have no choice.
That's
So
you.
This is what I'm
Can
going
you
to say.
imagine the fight?
No. This is what I'm going to say. We want 24 hours of power. We want power in our hospitals. The other day in Port Harcourt,
Rose,
14 children
it doesn't
died.
affect you.
I know it doesn't affect
doesn't
me, but it
affect
would
you.
affect your relatives.
And listen, I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Yes.
on your side. I'm with
Okay.
you. What I'm saying is they're not going to see it that easy
Okay.
and agree to it. So thus, whoever, when you're saying I'm going to do this, you need to prepare for them, is what I'm saying. What is that preparation that we're going to put in place for them? That's the key thing. They need to know that they're not just going to be warred against, but we are prepared to accommodate them, and this is where they're going to go with ease.
Okay.
That's important.
I hope he will put that into account too. And then there was
That's what
something else.
I don't think most people get where I'm driving at. I think people just think, she's just. I'm thinking about how we're going to make life easy for those who this
But
is
that
their
is quite
livelihood.
complex. It's
extremely complex,
Yes,
and that's
it's a
why it's
complex
important
issue.
that we think about
No, because
it.
you're thinking about those other guys, but it trickles down, and this is how people
It's
make their living.
It's these ones on the foot soldiers.
Yeah, so
it's
what's
the foot
gonna
soldiers that are
happen?
more.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
understand? You can have a deal with the guy at the top. That's
Yes.
easy to do.
Yeah.
You can have a conversation with him, have a deal with him, no problem. But there are 300 people on the ground, thousands on the ground that feed from him, and he's done his deal. He's good. But so what's going to happen to the ones on the ground?
I guess there'll be job creation.
Yeah, we just
And
we
other
need to
aspects,
stop
yeah.
that job creation. We need to have a dedicated policy plan framework that ensures that group of people in the economy, because we need them to continue to contribute to the economy also. Don't forget.
Yeah. True.
That's what I'm saying.
Very true. Okay, and I like the fact that he went, we cannot continue to, I love the part where he said, we cannot afford to disappoint the youth. That's a big one.
It's huge.
He's really close to the youth. Imagine over 70 million people.
You know what, Rose? He's talked about we need to love them, and
Yeah.
so that's so needed in Nigeria. It's absolutely necessary in Nigeria.
Yeah.
The love thing is
Not just
lacking.
love, empower them, because this is the backbone of the country. The youth are the backbone of the country. And he also talked about we should stop borrowing for consumption. So we would not be borrowing for consumption. We'll be borrowing to invest in the country.
There's a lot of things.
To turn the
I got
country
to
around.
ask him a question about our foreign direct investments, because before now, before this administration,
Yeah.
number one was Nigeria was doing number one on the foreign direct investment for so many years. But what was the real true trickling impact on the people on the ground? Not much. So I got to ask him, it's not enough to say you want to put us at the number one spot. Been there before, been there, done that. We need to understand what the impact of that is going to be. So give me an example
Yes.
of what that's going to look like.
Yes.
Do you understand? That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Give me an example of, because then I will understand that you've thought it through to the letter.
Yes.
Because we're making great statements. The statements look fantastic. They sound great, wonderful. But have we thought it through to the letter, right down to the local government area? And that's
Yes.
where that's the key. Because that's when we know the impact.
Okay.
So when
Okay.
investors are coming in to say we want to invest in blah blah, my question is how many people are you going to employ of Nigerian origin?
That's something else.
Yeah, where are you going to put your factory?
Okay.
Those kind of things, it's not that
You
hard.
know what I would really like for us to talk about? Analyzing the four, frontliners. That's for the
Rose, we
NNPP.
can, but we can't do it in the cold.
No, we're not gonna do it in the cold. We're not talking anymore. We're freezing. I'm freezing. I'm beginning to feel pains inside.
I need to go.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go. We're gonna go have a coffee somewhere in Costa or whatever. And then we're
Listen,
gonna go
guys, we
home.
love you
And
guys.
then tomorrow we're gonna do this again because
We
we're gonna
love
be
you
having
guys,
the
but we need to
INEC
know.
chairperson. The INEC chairperson is gonna be here. Yakubu Mahmood would be here, and I hope we're going to have this number of Nigerians coming out, especially the diasporas who were talking about having a diaspora vote, making our own contribution via casting our own votes. The remittance and everything else that we keep talking about, the impact the diasporans make in Nigeria. So we should now have the opportunity to be able to cast our vote. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. So, what are you doing, Priscilla? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you very
Rose.
much.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hopefully, if they let us in.
Yeah, they will let us in. I really just hope so. I hope they're going to let us in
Let us in,
tomorrow.
yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Bye.